This hearing. This has been the most thorough Supreme Court confirmation process that I've ever participated in. We've received more than twice as many documents for Judge Kavanaugh as for any Supreme Court nominee in history. This is a big deal. We have tens of thousands of pages of Judge Kavanaugh's opinions, speeches, and other writings. This has been an exhaustive process, and I want to thank you for your leadership on it. Now, to our witness, Judge Kavanaugh, it's good to see you. I've known you for a long time. This is my 15th and final Supreme Court confirmation hearing. I've participated in the confirmation of every current justice on the court. I've participated in the confirmation of over half of all federal judges now serving in the federal system, or who have ever served in the federal system. I know a good nominee when I see one, and you are a great nominee. I don't think there's any question about it. I've known you for a long time. I remember when you first came before this committee, back in 2004 for your first confirmation hearing. I was the chairman of this committee at the time. I got to know you well. I was impressed by your intellect, your legal ability, and your integrity, all of which were very much notable. At only 39 years of age, you knew more about the law than most lawyers who have practiced for a lifetime. And you have been an outstanding judge. You have earned the respect of your colleagues. And you've learned the respect of the Supreme Court as well. As you know, the Supreme Court has adopted the positions in your opinions no less than 13 times. That's something nobody can really argue against. You've authored landmark opinions on the separation of powers, administrative law, and national security. You served as a mentor to dozens of clerks and hundreds of law students, male and female. Your student, and some of whom did not share your philosophy. Your student reviews are off the charts favorable, even by those who may not have completely agreed with your philosophical approaches on some matters. You volunteer in your community. Mr. Chairman, I ask for order.
Yeah, just go ahead.
Okay, you volunteer in the community. You coach youth basketball. You're the sort of person many of us would like to have as a friend and a colleague. You also apparently like to eat pasta with ketchup, but nobody's perfect. Now, this being politics and this being a Supreme Court confirmation hearing, my Democratic colleagues actually I've got to admit my Democratic colleagues can admit that you're actually a good judge and a good person as well. They have to turn the volume up to 11 and try to paint you as one of the four horsemen of the apocalypse. Anyone who actually knows you knows that's ridiculous. And the American people will see soon enough that you are a smart, decent, normal person who just so happens to have been nominated to the highest court in our land. So here are the facts. Judge Kavanaugh is one of the most distinguished judges. Mr. Chairman, I think we ought to have this loudmouth removed. I mean, we shouldn't have to put up with this kind of stuff. I hope she's not a law student.
Now that we have quiet, I'd like to explain that I advised 2 years ago that at my hearings, I expected the police to do their job, and I expected the committee to go on. But if you don't want to continue...
I'm going to continue.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so here are the facts. Judge Kavanaugh is one of the most distinguished judges in the entire country.
Okay.
He has served for over 12 years now on the U.S. Court of Appeals for the D.C. Circuit. The D.C. Circuit is often referred to as the second highest court in the land because it hears many critically important cases involving agency action and the separation of powers. During his time on the bench, Judge Kavanaugh has heard over 1,000 cases. He's written more than 300 opinions. His opinions span nearly 5,000 pages in length. But what's remarkable about Judge Kavanaugh's judicial record is not just its length, but its depth and its quality. Judge Kavanaugh has been a true thought leader. He's written powerful opinions on the separation of powers and administrative law. He's shown that he brings a fair-minded approach to questions of criminal law and employment law. On almost every issue of consequence, Judge Kavanaugh has made a significant contribution to our nation's jurisprudence, and he's won respect from both sides of the political spectrum. The committee has received letters from former clerks, former colleagues, former students, and former classmates, all attesting to Judge Kavanaugh's sterling character and qualifications, some of whom are Democrats. Eminent members of the Supreme Court bar and legal academia have all written in strong support of Judge Kavanaugh's nomination. The authors of these letters emphasize that they have different political views and that they do not agree on every subject. But to a person, they speak of Judge Kavanaugh's integrity and judgment, and they enthusiastically endorse his nomination. I'd like to highlight one letter in particular from 18 of Judge Kavanaugh's former women law clerks. That's all of his former women clerks, all of them, who were not precluded by their current or pending employment from signing the letter. They write that, quote, Judge Kavanaugh has been one of the strongest advocates in the federal judiciary for women lawyers, unquote. They detail the mentoring and encouragement Judge Kavanaugh has given them in their careers. And they say that it is, quote, not an exaggeration to say that we would not be the professors, prosecutors, public officials, and appellate advocates we are today without his enthusiastic encouragement and unwavering support, unquote. It bears emphasis that these former clerks span the political divide. A number went on to clerk for liberal justices. That itself shows you the high regard Judge Kavanaugh has across the ideological spectrum. Republican and Democratic appointed judges alike have hired his former clerks. Judge Kavanaugh is no ideologue. He is no extremist. He is a highly respected, thoughtful, fair-minded judge who is well within the judicial mainstream. Look no further than the letter the committee received from over 40 members of the Supreme Court bar supporting Judge Kavanaugh's nomination. Among the signers are people like Lisa Blatt, Deanne Maynard, and Kathleen Sullivan. These are nationally renowned attorneys who practice frequently before the Supreme Court and the federal courts of appeals, and they are not conservatives. To the contrary, they are among the most prominent liberal attorneys at the bar today and in the country. But they know Judge Kavanaugh. They know his work. They know his character. They know that he is an outstanding judge, and they know that he will make an outstanding justice. If we could just get the politics out of this, I think we could all agree that Judge Kavanaugh is an indisputably qualified nominee with strong backing in the legal community who is well within the judicial mainstream. Go ask anyone who practices regularly before the Supreme Court who doesn't have a partisan agenda, and they'll tell you Judge Kavanaugh is exactly the kind of person we should have on the court, or we should want on the court. Indeed, no less than Bob Bennett, Bill Clinton's personal lawyer during Clinton's presidency, wrote to the committee urging support for Judge Kavanaugh's nomination. Here's what he intended to say, quote, as a Washington attorney, I can attest to the high esteem in which the bar holds Judge Kavanaugh. Lawyers love arguing before him for good reason, because they know he will approach every case with an open mind, unquote. Bennett continues, quote, Brett is the most qualified